Loading, loading. I see. Okay. Let me post that I'm live. Okay, let's see, is my stream actually loading? Look at that, I see a stream. That's good. Okay. Hello, how's everybody doing? Hopefully everything is going well for all of you. Hopefully people will start to trickle in shortly. Let me know if the volume's reasonable enough, both for the music and for my voice. Hopefully that's all good. Need to double check a few things real quick. But I think we're good and actually streaming, so that's the important part. Have a bitrate, have at least a viewer. Look at that. Okay. Okay, I guess I can just get into things, and whoever joins can ask questions when they join. Okay. Okay, yeah, a few more people are trickling in. Cool. Hello, everybody. If you have any general contributor rock questions, anything you feel like asking, just throw them directly in the chat. I'm totally happy sidetracking a bunch, especially at the beginning here, answering any general questions. Otherwise, I have at least one bug I want to try diving into. We'll see how it goes. It's in a part of the code base that I really haven't worked in, and so we'll see if I just hit a wall very quickly or if I can actually, you know, manage to work through things. To be specific as the issue, I guess I can just start diving right into that. Open up an example just to show it. So this is a cute little Fibonacci example. If I save it, it'll reformat into our modern format. And one of the big things we have is that an application like this Fibonacci, like basic CLI, like whatever, can pass functions to the platform. And then the platform can use those functions. But this is partially broken, and so I kind of want to fix it. And to show how it's partially broken, if I make a second main function here and also pass it in, this function will never be passed to the platform. Our setup is simply wrong currently. And so this is what I want to try and fix. And so in this case, if I go to, what is this, algorithms, Fibonacci, the platform here, I can also take two functions. And that's kind of my main goal, is I want to be able to make a platform take two functions. We'll say this is main for host 2, why not? Hey Sam, welcome. And so my main goal here is just trying to like first fix this, where a platform can take two functions. Separately, a much harder problem is making a platform be able to expose two functions, but I'm not gonna worry about that immediately. Or sorry, that's not here, that's here. So I want to be able to do this. This is the first thing I want to fix, is being able to expose two functions, which I feel like shouldn't be too hard, or being able to like send two platforms from the application to the platform. This feels like it should be very doable. I should be able to get main for host 2, and I should be able to do, you know, something silly like, you know, this, for example. I want to make that work. But currently we end up eating the second function here. And so this main 2 function like doesn't end up actually existing. In fact, if I come over here where I can, you know, run my roc, and I just do a check on, what is this? This is like crates, CLI, algorithms, I think. Oh, nope, not CLI. What is this? Is like CLI testing example? CLI tests, CLI tests, algorithms, Fibonacci.roc. If I run check on this, we can see that it literally just breaks fully. And so passing two functions in here confuses the compiler, and it basically, to my understanding, is just like ignoring the second function. So then it's like, wait, you're calling a function that doesn't really exist. How am I supposed to resolve that? And so hopefully I can fix this first part of the problem, which is just with sending things from the application to the platform. After that's fixed, I may look at trying to expose multiple things here. So we could have, main for host 2, or, something with a better name than main for host. That's almost always what we call it. But that's a later problem that I'm not worrying about. And so, yeah, the core thing I just want to do is send extra things from the app to the platform, which I'm hoping isn't too hard. But I think things are coupled in a slightly weird way. I only looked at this for a brief second earlier. But I have like a rough idea of where it starts and some of the problems with it. Some of the problems with the requires specifically. And I think all of this lives in like our core like compiler loop, which is in this like the loading loop, which is in this file.rs function. Nope, that's the wrong file. Gosh darn it. File.rs. There we go. Load internal file, not some random fs file. But so we have this compiler load internal, and this is like the core loop of Roc trying to load files, trying to parse them, trying to do as much work in parallel as possible. And so it ends up, first just parsing all of the headers, then it goes back to the files and parses their definitions. It recognizes what dependencies they have, spawn off processes for that, right? And so this is kind of like the core of all of our file handling logic. And so one of the things I immediately realized with this is like we're dealing with the requires, which I think there are a few different things that have this requires field. It's like, oh yeah, the header has requires. So this is almost certainly it. We are building a platform header, it has requires, but we're using it incorrectly. And so as I said, I pre-looked at this, so I know at least a basis of what's going wrong here. Fundamentally, we have provides as well, which is what you could see, down here. We have this provides where we're providing main for host, and technically requires and provides are not related to each other at all. Like I could have 27 requires and just one provides. Like they're not coupled. But if we go right here, we can see that we make the provides by combining the provides with the requires. And so that obviously is incorrect. And in fact, if I put a debug here, I would guess that we actually do get main 1 and main 2 passed into the provides, and there's something else like this is like fundamentally the core, like the starting kernel of what's broken. So if I go kill this and run it again, I'll hopefully get a debug print. Yeah, borrowing, sure. Okay. So if I run this right now, where we now have the requires that we're debug printing, we'll see, hopefully. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to wait for load to compile every time. That'll be fun. But the fun of working on something simple but deeper in the compiler, so you have to wait a little bit for everything to recompile and link. Roc is definitely not the fastest compiling compiler. It has a ways to go. It's easy to explode your compile times in Rust, and while we've worked to fix it a few different times, it's not always great. Oh, I didn't even get the debug. I'm actually a little surprised by that. Where is this failing? 1721 in this. Okay, so we don't even get here, which actually surprises me a little bit. I feel like yesterday when I looked at this, I was getting here. Yeah, there are still outstanding references to an arc. Oh boy, is this going to just dump me in the deep end? Real quick, let me first make sure I can get to just a clean state before I do anything too crazy. So if I come back here, we're going to undo a few things just to make sure there's nothing in the root broken. And once we have that working, I will work my way back to what I had. It doesn't matter if there's two versions of this function, we can just delete that for now. Okay, so this should be a clean state. I should be able to run this. Hopefully without any issues. Yeah. Also, that compiled very fast. Weird. I wonder if there's something else going on there. Okay. So yeah, we can see main right here. That's just fine. So we have main. It's a function from I64 to I64. No big deal. Now, let me go to the application and just see if passing main2 here immediately breaks anything. Don't know, but it might. Nope, nothing breaks. We still just only have main1 though. We do not have main2, which makes sense because we're looking at the requires in the platform header. And that was the application header I just modified there. So now we come back here and we add in main2 again. So added back in main2, I run this, and I think I should get 2 printouts. No, I don't even get 2 printouts. Okay, so things are failing before I even get to that, which is, I swear, it's different than what I saw when I looked at this the other day, but I guess that just makes debugging more fun. And so I guess this is our first issue, and it hopefully won't be too brutal in figuring out. But all of this code of the file handling, I have very, very lightly touched in the past, but it is not my forte. In fact, I don't think anybody's really done major work on it in quite a long time. And so I think most of this code is probably stuff Folkert wrote a really long time ago. But it's probably been modified a solid handful of times by other people. And so the question is, what do we have to change to literally just get this beginning piece to parse? If it's that space, real quick. I don't think it's that space, but just in case. What are the things we have to change just to get this requires to parse and be happy? And as I said, it's feeling at this currently, there are still outstanding arc references to module IDs. And so, you know, this is us failing the borrow checker. We have these atomic ref counted modules we're passing around, and we now have 2 references to one or something of that nature when we're trying to load and use it privately on a single thread. That said, an interesting note here, this is already after parsing failed. So it already thinks parsing failed before we even got here. So maybe that's really the root issue right now, is parsing should not have failed. So let me go here and let me just debug print what the problems are that we're seeing, and maybe that'll actually point us in the way of the correct issue of what's really going on here. Kill this again. Oh, of course I have to reference everything. Rust, the language of references. Because the borrow checker doesn't like us very much. No, that doesn't dislike us either. But yeah, so I guess we're just literally failing to parse right out the gate. So maybe there is something fundamentally wrong, not with the application, but with the platform. And so I'll have to dive into that and figure out why this doesn't even parse. You'd think this is just user record type parsing syntax. And if so, it shouldn't have any sort of issues parsing. Let's see. Yep. Cool. That debug print is actually super useful. Literally just telling us that it got stuck trying to parse. Oh, do I need parentheses when I'm inside of a record? Partly through a header and I got stuck here. Otherwise, maybe the parsing for the header. Just in case this makes it realize that that's the end of a function. I doubt this is the issue, but just in case, always start with the more defensive, simple checks, because they can get you a long way. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so that doesn't fix anything. And so the first thing is, it looks like we don't even parse this as a real record. We literally only parse it for one item, and then we give up. And so that means we have to go into the parser itself, which is another area of the compiler that I have touched a tiny bit, but haven't really gone through. Oh, you're working on improving parser tolerances? Yeah, there's a lot of things where we have, you know, various different parts of the parser that just break very easily. There are some parts that are much more robust, though. But yeah, I'm surprised this one actually segfaults, or not segfaults, it panics instead of actually printing out the errors at all. Because I wouldn't expect it to be doing anything weird with module IDs. So somehow we leave it in a half-broken state, which is just intriguing, because it has the real error, right? Like, we can see it when I debug print. Actually, wait, now that I debug printed, I just realized it doesn't panic at all. That's weird. Okay, anyway. So yeah, the Roc parser is in compiler/parse. We try to name things as they are. And I'm assuming what I need to do is deal with parsing headers in some way, shape, or form. Might be that a built-in wasn't finished being parsed. Yeah, it definitely could be a race condition why it failed at the atomic thing there. Yeah, parser's definitely an area I don't know a lot about. So, Sam, you may be my fundamental guide here to make it so I have any chance, but also, you know, add in as much as you are willing and able. Okay, so we're parsing a header. or a platform. So this is just the header of the platform, and it returns that it's a platform. I'm assuming if I look for other uses of this, we're going to get where it dispatches to. That's formatting a header. And this is just a reverse reference lookup. Let's see. In parse, not normalizing, parse headers. Oh, that's just, we just parsed that it is a platform here. Oh, okay. Interesting. I guess all headers are parsed in the same sort of a way. No, probably not. I'm probably just missing that. Let's see. Module header. This is not a module. Let's see. Is there a platform header? Yeah, here we go. So we parse a requires. What is parsing a requires? Yeah, this is literally a single item. Oh no, it says it's a record. It says a record of keyword item with spaces around the keyword. Requires keyword, requires indent, requires list start. List. Oh boy, this is where the parser I know is like a combinator type, or parser combinators is how it's built. But for me, I'm always a just recursive descent parser kind of a guy. So this is where I always like. It takes a while for me to dig into this. Anyways, I think what this is saying is that it is just parsing the requires, and then it's going on to the rest of this. And so I think what we actually want is the platform requires item, right? Which this is the actual main thing. Yeah, which requires type indent is the signature. Let's see, platform requires, which is also a record. Skip second, requires rigids. There should be two different structs being parsed in requires, and that's what I'm not quite sure of. So we're parsing the requires keyword, then we're parsing a requires, then let's see, what does this do? Expectation, indent problem 1, indent problem 2. Oh no, I didn't want to actually close that. Parse headers. Platform header. Okay. Let's go back to that requires. Okay. Let's see. The record macro parses things in a sequence. Oh, okay. And then saves their values to a record. Okay, or struct in Rust. Which means it isn't actually parsing things to like records themselves. Okay, that's really good to know. So this record macro in this case is only taking a single keyword item. And so I don't fully understand how it's parsing things in order, but that's okay. But it's parsing a keyword, which is the requires keyword, followed by the requires. Oh, I see, yeah, the keyword here, and then the item of it. Which that is is dealing with rigids and signatures. And if I understand, oh, and this is just singular. This probably is supposed to be signatures, if I had to guess. Because that is, rigids is this first part here. Signatures is the second part, if I understand correctly. And as you can see, it's only trying to parse a single signature. So the first step is literally just fixing the parser here. And so it's trying to parse a single typed ident inside of that. But we want it to parse a list of typed idents. Interestingly, it's parsing them with the starting bytes, which is intriguing. Oh, wait, let's see. We have list starts and ends. Does that mean this actually ends up being a list of things? I don't think so. Let's see. Dealing with indentation. Yeah, the parser is probably the part of the compiler I consider most Greek. It is not my cup of tea to dig into, and that's fine. You know, different people have different ways to dig into things. Yeah, so this is a singular typed ident. Okay, that's what I thought. I don't want to close this. I see. It can just skip the first byte and skip the last byte. Yep. Okay, so it's an optionally removing the surrounding braces, and then it's parsing a single typed ident. Okay, so that's not exactly what we want. And we're getting spam already. Cool. I am happy with all the side comments and, you know, all the help in dealing with that. Yeah, in actually digging into this, because the parser is not my cup of tea. I don't really know it. Also, I don't know how to delete spam comments yet, apparently. Yeah, whatever. I'll leave it be. Okay, anyways. So we have this just parsing a single typed ident, which is fundamentally the problem. We need to be parsing a full list of these things, or a record of these things, right? They're like within the squiggly brackets, but we need to parse multiple of them. And so now the question is, how does the compiler let us parse a list of things? And that I am not actually sure of off of the top of my head, but we have lots of examples. Let's see if we can find that. Collection trailing separated by E. That looks like it might be what we need. We need a collection of things. I don't know what the trailing separated by... I get by separated by E is, because it's separated by commas. But I don't know what the trailing part is in this. But let's just start with that and see where it takes us. It seems to be a common thing. Yeah, this is parsing types of something else, and you can see it's like a record of typed entries of this sort. So like I think roughly we need something in this nature in order to parse a record of things. And so if we go to where we were parsing the signature here, we will have to make this a plural signatures, and we're going to have to... E means I'll give you an error type wrapper as the last arg if it fails to parse. Interesting. Trailing should means you can put a comma at the end. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. A comma at the end would be fine here. It'd be a little strange, but not a problem. Oh, I want to actually remember what the last function was. Okay, so if I take this and I take the typed ident, this may not be the right way to do this, in that this typed ident may fit better as, you know, some form of this typed entry, because I don't know what a type entry is and how different that is. But for now, I'm just going to throw the typed ident right in here. We're now parsing a list of types as the signature, which I'm sure is going to have the wrong type, because I'm sure this collection ends up generating a, you know, sequence of some sort. Yeah, a crate AST collection is what it ends up generating. And so I'll have to figure that out for sure. And I probably should just change this to signatures, though that's gonna, I mean, that'll actually give us a chain of type errors. Oh, and look, we have a perfect example of, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Wait, come back. Okay, go back over here. Signatures, you can see this is a collection of typed, of uppercase idents. And so I'm assuming we just need to make this a collection at all as well, which of course Rust will throw a big fuss at us for it. I'm sure there's going to be lots of stuff that does not type check anymore. On that note, I think it would be worth me looking at require rigids real quick, because rigids is also a collection. Yeah, see, rigids uses the same sort of thing. It's the trailing sep E, it deals with the first bracket, deals with a comma, deals with the second or the following bracket, and has space before. And so we're kind of following the same thing. I don't have this specialized error thing. I probably should have it. I don't know exactly how that works yet, though. So that's a thing to figure out, though it might also be in requires type ident. Yeah, the specialized error is already right here. And so that's a good thing. On that note, I don't think we need this skip first or skip second anymore, because we are now dealing with those by the collection instead of on this inner part. So I'm just going to get rid of those because I'm pretty sure they are incorrect. How's my spacing work? Yeah, that's correct. Okay. And so now this is just dealing with the typed ident. And this probably could also just be, I'm assuming this is almost the same as just regular typed ident. Okay, something is incorrect about the type here. Oh boy, that's a beautiful error, Rust. You guys can't see the beauty of it because chat's on top of it, but you can see that it's even overflowing, and it's like so long, and it's just all T's. So many different T's. Something about the question mark operator that it is very unhappy with. Yeah, I know. I probably need to dump this into the terminal at some point. In fact, I can just do that, and it will give me a much bigger... Oh, it's going to tell me about all the other parts I have signature. But yeah, here's the macro error of talking about working through different tuples and things of that nature. Originates from the record macro. I'm assuming it's because I have the types wrong in the record macro. Oh, it expected a closure of some sort here. Wait, real quick. If I go look at rigids, they put the specialize error here. We reset the minimum ident and do space. Let's see. So this has multiple wrappers on top of it, but how different is it? So this is a parser of a collection already. In fact, let me actually pull these all over here just to make this a little more consistent. So this is a parser of the collection, and that at least lets me look at a smaller part to figure out the type as opposed to looking at everything. And so this should now have a collection A of typed items. Okay. So that should now be correctly typed as a function here, this one part here. Not quite. What am I missing? Oh, I'm just missing a comma. And remove that comma. Okay. Yeah. Oh, no, this is still unhappy. So reset. Oh, I can't reset the minimum indent inside of a collection, probably. This probably needs to go on the outside before we do the collection. I'm assuming these things all go on the outside of this, if I had to guess. We have the specialize error. We probably don't want that. Okay. And now I have my tabbing off somewhere. Or my parentheses off. No. Okay. So that one closes there. That looks correct. This one, oh, we have an extra... Oh, I see. There's probably extra parens here. That closes location. That closes the specialize error. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Oh, need a comma at the end, obviously. There we go, maybe. Slowly working my way backwards here. So why is this specialize error different than the other specialize error such that it doesn't work? This has mapping of the error type via a lambda versus this just has a type. That's a bit different. E requires maybe the wrong wrapper type. I'd assume it should be the same as this one, right? Because this one is the rigids and they already are a list of things. So I'd assume that should be the correct wrapper type. Yeah. But I'm not sure why this is failing. Let's see. Here, let me run this again just to get that first error up top here. Okay. Oh, this is not the right spot. Also, do you know what space 0 around EE does? That one is new to me. Oh, yeah, it requires a function. I don't know how this old line worked at all. If we do... Oh, I see why it was supposed to work. 'Cause it's supposed to be something like that. Yeah, okay, that doesn't work. Parser is not my land of success, but that's okay. I will end up learning a lot from messing around with it, so that's kind of the more important part. But somehow wrapping this in a collection is leading to issues related to the specialization error, even though this was in the original code, was doing the specialization. So the question is, what did it change that kind of breaks everything here? Like, why can it not be used in a collection, but it can be used alone? If I look at the element, it's supposed to be a parser of the element plus a, which is, I think, what we have here. We have a parser oh, that's not what I wanted. Specialized error ends up giving you a parser of t. Yeah, the space around 0 allows multi-line. Okay. So that means I still probably want space 0 around EE around the collection, so the collection can be multi-line. Not that that'll fix my issue. In fact, I think I may have made my issue worse. Okay. I'm going to copy this real quick, and then I'm going to undo a good bit, just so I can get back to what the original thing was, just to compare it to some of the earlier stuff that was functional. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, spaces means anything that's considered white space or unimportant, including comments. Yep, that makes sense. Okay, so now we have that to compare to. This is kind of what I'm trying to map into a collection. And so, as we said, this is a collection with a lifetime of A. And the requires comes afterwards. Yeah. And so I was hoping that I could just add this collection wrapper to map it into a collection. But it seems like that is not truly the case. It also seems that spaces around EE doesn't necessarily work correctly for just like mapping by itself. Okay. That's not what I do. Okay. So for now, I'm going to leave spaces around EE out, just because it seems to immediately break when I add that. So we can comment that out. And we can also comment out one of these. And so that just leaves the specialize error, which works here to get you a parser for a typed ident. Doesn't... Oh, I see the issue. It's not a spaced type ident anymore, is it? That's probably the issue. Let's see if that works. Did I get rid of enough of these? Oh no, I stand corrected. I really thought that might have been it. My shots in the dark. Okay, because theirs is still spaced. Oh, but that would make sense why spaces around EE doesn't work around the outside, because I'm doing a... what would end up being like a spaced collection, which is, you know, probably not what we actually want. I'm guessing that's not normal. Let me look up collection a few times. It's always collections of spaced things. There are no spaced collections that anybody's doing anywhere. I'm assuming collections deal with their own spacing automatically. So I am going to just ignore these two for now, just to see if I can get the rest of this working. So we're just looking at the collection, and I think it is still supposed to be spaced here. Hello, welcome to the chat. I'm currently just attempting to do some hacking on Roc. If you have any questions about Roc, contributing, whatever else, feel free to ask them. I'm very happy to get sidetracked. Right now, I'm trying to do stuff in the parser, which is probably the part of Roc that I like the least. Nothing against the people who wrote the parser. They're all great. It's just not the way I would write a parser at all. I like simple recursive descent, and this is too complicated for my simple brain. So this will be interesting to see how it all pans out and to see if I can slowly figure out the right things to just make the Rust types happy. I mean, the nice thing about this parser is that Rust does know all the types. And so assuming I can, you know, get the types right, it probably will just compile and will work correctly. But there are a lot of more complicated types that go into this parser. I also think this is a case where we're holding Rust like you would hold Haskell for the parser, and I don't think those two necessarily map well together, but you know, hopefully people can learn from me struggling in the compiler, or at least can realize that even people who have been like working on Roc for 4 years still don't know the compiler in any sense to its fullest. There's so much to learn always. Okay. Anyways, back to this error to see if I can actually figure this out. Let me actually take time to properly read this error. So we found a parser for a location of... It's hundreds of thousands. Yeah, Roc is, 300,000 lines or so. Is it bigger now? Let's see. What do we get if we just do the crates directory? Roc is just, oh god, it's almost 400,000 lines now. It's grown a bit. But I guess only about 300,000 lines of code, though, and you really can't count most of these other things. Those aren't languages. I don't know how we have 20,000 lines of JSON. Why do we have 20,000 lines of JSON? Where is that coming from? I have no idea. But anyways, the actual compiler, the Rust, the core of it is 280,000 lines. And then on top of that, we have another 10,000 lines of Zig that is like, the built-ins for Roc itself. So yeah, no one understands this whole compiler. Not Richard, not Fulkert, not me, not Ayaz, though all of us have a lot of understanding of different sub-portions, and collectively we may understand all of it. But it is it is truly a giant project at this point, so there is no just understanding the entire compiler. It just doesn't exist fundamentally. Oh, yeah. Okay, wait, I had the error. Where is this error again? Okay. For some reason it expected a function that takes a bumpalo and a state and a U32 closure, which is what I'm confused the most about. But it's saying it found a parser, cool, to a collection of a location. Oh, not a spaced location, it's a location spaced. Did I just flip something and that was the whole error? I mean, that'd be nice if that was the whole error. Yeah, location is supposed to be outside of spaced. I don't think that's going to be the whole error. No, it's not. Okay. But I did flip that, so that is important to realize. Okay. Let's make sure the types here are the same, bar the actual underlying thing. So we have a parser of A, collection of A, location spaced of A, typed ident versus an uppercase ident, slightly different of A, than E requires. Okay, so we have what should be the correct type, at least based on this other example, which I always advise looking at other examples. That's the trick to making any progress in complex code that you don't understand. Take advantage of all other existing code and examples and use them to understand better. Okay, ignore all those errors. Okay, back to this error. So we do have the right type to my understanding. The question is, why does it expect a function that doesn't return anything, that takes a bump, a state, and a U32? I'm assuming that might be what a parser technically is under the hood, or something along those lines. But it says that this is not implemented for parser. But it is required for the parser. E provides. That's a different... Oh, wait, am I generating the wrong type of error? No, we're in requires, and that's what we had as the E requires errors. Oh, I'm dumb. Okay, cool. I know what's going on. This is one error type. This is another error type. You can't return two different types of errors and then say you're only returning one type of error. Yep, that was the whole issue. Okay, I've been fighting literally just a namespacing issue. I swear I'm smart sometimes, but you feel so dumb when you realize you're fighting something so basic. I don't know if these, anyways, I don't know if these other pieces here are needed, but I am going to re-add them and see if they break anything. And if they don't, I will leave them in. Nope, they break things because it's going to become a spaced collection if I am correct. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about these extra wrappings to handle spacing because I'm hoping that collections handle their own spacing. And if that's the case, then we should be just fine. Oh wait, there was a trailing comma that was incorrect. Wait. Let me make sure there's no trailing commas. These are all just directly nested. Oh, Rust doesn't care about trailing commas, right? Yeah, it doesn't. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's specifically, I think, the spaces around EE that breaks, which allows spacing before and after a thing. But I would assume a collection deals with its own spacing. And I don't know why we need to reset the minimum indentation level. So I think... Oh, I do know why. Because this can be on the next line. And it doesn't care about indentation because the requires is flat. So I think this is the preferred way to do this. Okay, that's happy. And I don't think we need spaces around EE, but I'll leave that there. Okay, now we can slowly work our way back up, fixing all the types. And hopefully everything will be happy. So... we have now this function that we can throw here. Let's see, why does that one have a skip second? It's skipping a list start. Well, it's skipping extra spacing at the end. Oh, it's skipping extra spacing. Yeah, we don't need to skip extra spacing after this because we're already at the end. Okay. And now it's angry at us probably because this has the wrong type now. Oh no, I already updated this type. A collection of a location of spaced typed items. Cool. So that type is updated. So why is the record macro complaining at us? Please enlighten us, gods of Rust, in the macros. Field : parser expression. Yeah? What's the problem? Well, trying to match. No rule expected. Oh, I can't have a trailing comma because we didn't write our macro well. I hate that. That's always one of the things that I hate is a lot of macros, if you write them the naive way, they don't allow like trailing commas and everything like that. And so there's a lot of things where you're like, why is this broken? And it's just a comma. You know, or like, why does this one have a comma? Why is that one allowed? But I'm not allowed to have a trailing comma. There are weird things about macro definitions that I don't fully understand. Like, I feel like this one shouldn't be allowed, but this one is. And I could go fix the record macro, to be fair. It would just be a sidetrack, right? You can see right here, let's see. It is expecting, oh no, see, it does say it expects, you know, only one, like this is a list with one or more commas repeating, and then it has an optional comma, I thought is how that worked. Anyways, I'm not going to dive into fixing this macro. I've done this before, but I'd have to go look things up, and it's just not worth my time right now. Okay, so this is one level up. We now are parsing requires such that we should be able to parse multiple different signatures instead of just a single signature, which is obviously important for what we're trying to do, of going back to the original issue of like, this is ignoring main 2 right there. It literally just totally ignores it. And we obviously should be able to pass multiple functions from an application down to the platform. There's no reason that shouldn't work. Okay, and so now we need to go through and update all of the uses of the signature. Here, because now it's signatures plural. And so if I go through my errors, I think there's only a couple of places this is used. And so this is signatures dot, is there like an all? Let's see, we have a collection dot items, I think. Yeah, dot items. Or is that just, let's see. Okay, items dot all. How does Rust do all? I forget. Oh my god, I can't type dot iter. Okay, dot all, I think. Yes. And then we can just say if X is if any of the sub items are malformed, the entire signature as a whole is malformed. Okay. One spot fixed. Here. Oh. Just normalize the signatures. We normalize all the items in the signature. Oh, there is literally a map items. Cool. So arena, and we're gonna just do x to x dot normalize, passing in the arena. Okay. That seems fine so far. We still have a few more spots that are missing the field signatures that clearly require it. One of them is just formatting. I feel like there's probably a better way to do this, to format out a collection. Where do we format? Oh yeah, there's literally format collection, which they're using right there. So let's format a second collection, because now we have two, and we just say signatures. No new lines, curly braces, indented. Yeah, that sounds good. To format that, we just format a second collection. And that should be fine. Okay, one more spot where signatures doesn't exist right now. Oh, and that just calls signatures.multiline. Oh no, I have to do the... Oh, I have to do probably is collection multiline here, I would guess. Which I think was kind of something else that we ran into. So, okay, there we go. There we go. Is that all the spots? This has to be used more. Okay, there's an unused import. Sure, we can remove that real quick. Okay, I'm sure more errors will come up when we run this, but that's at least what's compiled so far. Should it be any rather than all? Oh, yes, it should. That's a good catch. Now let's see if I can find where that was. I can just do get status. What files have I had? It was probably in... It wasn't in formatting, so it was probably in normalize. I mean, oops. Do I remember how to go between commits? How do I go to the next commit? I swear that's how this is supposed to work. Okay, we'll go back through these real quick. Signatures, map items, that one's fine. Oh, wait. Easy way to do this. I don't know why I'm doing this the hard way. Go to references. Okay. Where's the one that I used all? Yeah, is malformed. It's if any of them are malformed, it is malformed. Thank you. That's a very useful catch. Very different response if they all have to be broken for it to be considered broken. Okay, yeah, see, the field is still not known, but now we're actually to the file loading, which is what I was trying to get to in the first place. So theoretically, I should actually be able to run Roc. Oh, well, I have to get it compiling before I can run Roc format, so never mind. But if I come here and I search for signature, yeah, right here, it just takes the region of the signature for the region of the requires, which I think is a bit strange, because why wouldn't you take the region of the rigids? Or like, why does requires itself not have a region? Does a keyword item not have a region for some reason? I guess it doesn't have a location, so it doesn't have a region. That's fair enough. Does the keyword have a region? No. Because that's just gonna go to the requires keyword, which is just text. Yeah, so the closest thing that has a location is the first rigid item. So that's probably where we should point this to get the requires location. So we do, though the rigids don't require an item, there's not always an item in them, but there's always at least one signature required. So we can do signatures dot items 0, because the first signature should always exist. Though there should be a better way to do this, so I'm just gonna put a little to do n. Okay. So we should be able to do something like this. Requires dot item, which shouldn't that have signatures? Did I spell this wrong? Oh no, it does. It's just my editor hasn't realized that I corrected it yet. Okay. So for now, we'll just use the first item. But it's not truly the right location. Okay, and now we're actually finally back to this thing where we were at before with zipping the requires with other pieces. Oh, except the requires, we're going to need a whole list of them. This is just literally one item, I think. But anyways, let's see what debug prints out of this. And in fact, I'm just going to run a... No, I'll just run this as is. Let's see if it'll rock check it all. Okay. Compiling, the time to take a breather sometimes. But hopefully this will at least be compiling and not immediately crashing. Okay, cool. We're back to getting our requires. We only have one that actually prints, which makes sense because now we can see we're explicitly ignoring all the rest by grabbing number 0 here. And so there's probably a better thing we should be doing, or we should be making a list of these. In fact, I don't know how we're iterating a single item. That's actually pretty weird. Like, why is this thing iterable at all? It's a single typed item. Oh, I guess it's a list of them. I don't know what makes it a list. This doesn't look like a list to me. But, oh wait, no, I missed the bracket. Okay, there is a bracket there. Okay. So we really want to map all of the items so that each one of them has a location. So if we go like this, and we go, you know, take these headers, signatures, the items, or there was a map items, I think. Map items in the arena. And in this case, we want to map them to, the region. We want to map them to a location. Oh. That is the region. Okay, so these are actually for the individual items. So this to-do's wrong. And then we want this one. And we want this also to be the individual item. So the item without the spaces and the region that the item is at. Rust format that for me. Okay, and now we've mapped all the items, but we're just putting them in like the map of items into a list, which is not what I want. What is map items? It gives us a collection. I think we don't actually need this arena.alloc. We just map all the items. That will deal with the arena. And then we do items, which gives us a collection. That might be messing up lifetimes. No, it shouldn't, because everything lives in the arena. And now we'll hopefully see multiple of these and not just the single main. Because now we're actually mapping all of the signatures as opposed to just a single signature. We will immediately have a different issue of these requires are being merged with the provides, which is incorrect, simply put, right? If we look at this, here's my requires. I can have as many of these as I want. They're unrelated to the provides. And so fundamentally, the provides and the requires are two separate lists, and we should not be merging them together. And so that's actually like the core problem that I thought I would be solving, but apparently I had to sidestep and first start by solving a bigger parser problem. And so now we have to decouple these two things. So we can say, look, the platform may provide us one function or 27 functions, and it may require one function or 27 functions. They're unrelated, you know? Even if we're getting two required functions here, they might both be used by one platform function. And so like there's no requirement to couple these at all. And so, oh yeah, and here we go. We can see we now have two different, here's main 2. So we at least have the parsing working now. There is step 1 done. We are properly parsing. So then the question becomes, how do we decouple these? Because when you iter and then you zip it with another iter, it's going to take the shortest thing and it's going to chop to that. And so if I go here and I just add another debug in, right? If I come here and I debug the provides, we'll immediately see that even though we had two things in this requires, we now are limited to one thing because it's tied to the provides. And so we have to decouple the requires from the provides. And so, I mean, my immediate thought Oh, wait, they're already decoupled? Why are the requires in the provides at all? What? Why are we merging these at all? That seems really strange. Requires are still here. That's really weird that we already have decoupled. We have the requires right here. They're decoupled. They're by themselves. They're the typed items in a list. And then separately, we have the provides. And some reason the provides also have requires. So maybe I just need to delete that. That's really weird. And so maybe, if I'm lucky, this requires already just works. And so I just need to fix the provides to not also take in the requires. Because that just doesn't make any sense. They're just unrelated things that were some reason zipping together. Yeah, we can see right here, we just have in the provides just main for host. What somehow we're attaching it to main, and that doesn't make any sense. That's what I am curious. If I now do, just to see, if I like call main2 here, does this work? Is this broken? You know, what does Roc do? Does it think that's okay? Can I run this function? Will it do a double Fibonacci? Well, I mean, it doesn't. It checks just fine. So, like, if I do, and just try to run that, what do I get? It does work. Okay, so feature works. We're just also doing something stupid that we shouldn't do. Double Fibonacci. This is the most useful thing ever. Everybody needs their own double Fibonacci. But anyways, so that's enough to get the requires working, and I just want to clean up this main for host thing of like dealing with the provides, because it makes no sense that the provides are coupled to this at all. Like, this shouldn't be needed. So where are provides used, and why are they like this? Why are they taking in the requires? That just is very unnecessary and very strange. So let's just real quick go through their uses, which hopefully there are not too many of. It looks like that's creating them. This one is using them, it looks like. So this is one spot we need to look at, and this is the other that seems to be using them. So if we follow around provides, we're literally just passing them on to something else. Okay, that's it. They just get passed on to something else. The platform data, which still has this double type thing. We go to platform data. Where is that used? I'm going to be down a giant rabbit hole trying to remove this. I want to find the bottom before I just start ripping out code, because it'll probably turn out that some reason this is needed. And so I definitely want to be careful of ripping things out and then getting stuck. In fact, actually, what I should do right now, before any of this, let me go through and just add all of this, not the test changes, those aren't important right now, but let me add the rest of this and make it a commit. Darn it, I just added a debug message. I'll get rid of that in a minute. Actually, if we just do Control-C this, it'll reset. Yeah, resets, okay. Don't need that change. Do need that change. Do need that change. This one I should edit to get rid of those two lines that are commented out. They're not needed. I'm just doing this now so that I can come back to a clean state of some sort. I'm assuming I accidentally added things I didn't want to. Real quick. Just do a get reset soft so I can add these correctly. Okay, don't need that one. Don't need that one. Do need this one. Do need this one. Don't need that one. There you go. Now I've gotten rid of that debug message that I didn't want. And also I don't want this other debug message to be committed. Do need. This one I wanted to edit to get rid of the commented out spaces around thing, because I don't think it's needed, but maybe it is, but I'll come back to that later. Oh, did I miss another debug? It's okay. I'll deal with it in the iter call. Darn. So close. Okay, whatever. It's not the end of the... yeah, it's definitely not the end of the world, right? But I just... let me put this on a branch. What do I want to call this? I don't even know. Multiple... What are these called? Provides? No, they're requires. There we go. Close enough. Dash B. Okay. Okay, so that's at least saved. I can deal with that one debug message I missed at some other point. But just want to do that before I go mess something up, so I at least have a state I can return to that's pretty clean. And like if I look at this diff, it should just be unimportant stuff that if I reset is no big deal. Yeah, cool. Okay, so that's at least saved, so that if I mess anything up, it's not a problem. But anyways, where is this platform data actually used? It looks like it's used in both of these cases. Here it's just passed along. Okay, let me try to go through a few of these. This is going to be a long or a deeper rabbit hole than I would have liked. Platform data has a module ID. Wait, it has optional platform data. What is a platform data again? What I care about is the provides. Where are those used? I guess I can just do that. Just look at the provides. They're created there. They're used here, and that's it. Okay, they're only used in one spot. How are they used? We get the length. We go through them. And are we using both pieces? We don't use both pieces, so this piece isn't even needed down here. Yeah, so I think we just have a mistake, and none of this is needed, and we have a big tower of stuff that is incorrect technically. So let's go through and clean it up then. And that should be fine. So we're just going to have the name because we don't have the type in the provides. It just doesn't have type. So that fixes one small part of it. And then the other part is up here, we also don't want to have it. And I think in general it won't be used. We'll see if I'm correct. If it is used somewhere, we'll have to clean that up. But currently provides do not have any types. I'm assuming this is some legacy thing. Maybe these used to be coupled, but they're not anymore. So if I just change the type and then I let Rust tell me what's broken, at least once it can compile things. We'll at least have half the problem fixed, which is providing many things from the application to the platform. Provides into bump slice is the wrong type. Who would have guessed? Okay, that's not too many type errors. And again, another spot where it's not used. Yup, see, I think this is just all old dead stuff that isn't actually used. Here we go. Why is this a problem? It's because the type here is incorrect. No, this type is correct, so it's where it's coming from is incorrect. Yes. Oh yeah, here we obviously don't need to do all this extra crap. We can just do that. And now those are correct. They're not being merged with anything because there's no need for that. Why are you still not correct? A reference. Oh, there's an extra level of reference. I do need a copy here. So if I do dot copy, no, dot iter.copied. So yeah, there we go. So that fixes the types there, and I think there's only one other spot where this is bad typed. Yeah, so this is just old dead code. That's how I prefer it to be. Just removing dead code and not needing to actually deal with more complicated things. So theoretically this will still run, and this gets half the functionality we care about working. I'll have to clean up a little bit of stuff, but that at least is a huge part of the core of what I'm trying to do. The other half of what I want to do is probably the harder half, though. Though I don't know, messing with the parser ended up being way harder than it should have been, I think. Hey Sam, do you think I need that space 0 around EE thing, or do you think that's unnecessary now that we're doing collection parsing? Like, do you have any idea how I can, like, test if that was actually required? Okay, and this is the one debug I'm missing, so I can fix that. File.rs 5003 or something. We'll just scroll on up there. Where's this debug? Yes, the one debug that I missed, I guess. Add a new line and comment in between things. Okay. Yeah, so we will go with, let's go right here and say, let's make this way more complicated. So we're going to say unnecessary. And then go here and go and more. And then we're also going to put a trailing comma there and see if that works. what are the chances? Actually, I should probably run just check for that. Cargo run check. I don't need it to compile and run everything. So if this parses, we definitely have everything good. There may be a few cleanups to the parser that should be done, and I'll debate if I actually want to do that now or a different time. I should also remove my unused import. Where the heck is it? Here. Goodbye, unused import. Wrong check. No, it's the right check. Cargo run check. I'm using roc check. There's a little dash dash. So I think that's the right check. This is roc check. Yeah, I probably misspoke. Okay, but this all parses. I hope no one writes this ever, but it parses. Can I put a comma here? I don't think so. That shouldn't work. But, you know, we'll let that run as well, just in case. But I don't think that's supposed to work, but this works. And my IDE is running the formatter on save, and so theoretically formatting works as well for roc code with this chaos. But I can double check that as well, just in case. Okay, that does break, but that is expected to break. And this shows that I still have a debug statement somewhere, but I will clean those up later. Let's see. I think the formatter is technically working in this case because these comments ruin its ability to format, but I don't know. Let's see if it is. We will... Is it full format or is it just FMT? I never remember that. Oh, let me actually get the last line. Okay. Waiting for the formatter. Okay, the formatter ran. Let's reload this. Yeah, this is what the formatter outputs. It just gives up with this monstrosity. I think that is probably how it should format, technically. I mean, if I get rid of that, does it do any better? Actually, I would expect it to do, like, reflowing of some sort. I think it doesn't have all the record logic. I would expect it to do some sort of, like, tabbing in or something, or maybe even pulling this comment onto that line. But I don't think I'm going to try to dig in and deal with the formatting. I'm sure someone probably knows exactly how we do record formatting and can just apply record formatting here. I don't know how that's all wired together, so I'm going to leave that be for now. Yeah, exactly. This is the exact same thing. This is really just parsing a typed record. So this should really just be calling parsing a typed record and nothing special. But right now, I'm just going to leave it be. Someone else can help clean up and make that parse a typed record. But I have feature 1 working. You can pass in 2 functions. And really where this becomes most useful is when you want to return a whole record of functions to the platform, or you're going to eventually, and this is the main feature that I want to actually get working. And we'll see how far I get. But if I do main for host 2 here, I would like to be able to expose 2 functions and do something like this. There we go. Where we have 2 different functions that are exposed to the platform. And I do not expect this to work at all, but, you know, let's just see if it runs. Actually, I expect this to run, probably. It's probably just going to ignore main for host 2 and do nothing with it. But I expect it to run, maybe. Oh, nope, never mind. It just panics because something was supposed to be 1 and instead it's 2. Well, that's probably where I need to start looking as the first part of what's broken. And this is where sometimes panics are nice because I know exactly where to start looking. But this is the second half of what I want to do. I want to be able to expose multiple functions to the underlying host. And just for anybody curious, when I say underlying host, if I go into this Fibonacci platform, it's actually written in Zig. There's this underlying Zig application that is communicating with Roc and is actually calling and running Roc. Like somewhere down to the bottom here, it is loading, it is timing this Fibonacci, it is running Roc, it's printing the Roc result, and then it's printing a time of how long it took to run this silly little Fibonacci example. And the wiring can be a bit complex, that's why there's a lot of stuff here. But fundamentally, it's calling this Roc main for host 1 exposed. And I would like to also be able to call Roc main for host number 2. And so like this is fundamentally what I want to get working, because when you can expose a bunch of things to the underlying host, it makes things so much more flexible and easy to control and wire up just in general. And so, you know, we got half the wiring. We have this function, both of these functions going to the platform, and now they have to be sent down to the host. This is the next level down. And as I said earlier, that these are not coupled. We could just send one of these to the host. We could add some merge function and send it to the host. We could send 10 functions to the host that are made just calling these two functions a bunch of times. Any of those work. Oh, I don't need that trailing comma. That's unnecessary. Before I work on that though, I am going to actually, let me just double check something. What do I have left here? Nothing important to commit, right? I have everything committed. I guess there's a little bit of cleanup stuff. Let me add the little bit of cleanup stuff, and then we will go on to add the rest of this stuff, or work on this part. So not that, actually, we're going to add part of this. I'm going to update this app header. We're going to get rid of that import. We're going to correct that type. We are going to, oh wait, I don't need to edit that. I just need to not include it. We're going to edit again. No, we want to discard that. We don't want that. We want to keep this update. We want to keep that update. Keep that update. We don't want the spaces around. And keep that update. Okay. And we'll just throw a second commit on here. So now those are decoupled. That was part 2. And so now for the big piece of trying to do this multiple exposed pieces, which, as we said, it's failing in program.rs. So let's start there and see why it's failing. Line 231. What are we expecting to be equal? Well, that's an easy way to fail. Look at that. Assert that we have exactly one exposed thing. That obviously is not going to work anymore. You can see the to-do that I am hoping to fix. Okay. Now we're making these things called entry points right now. And it looks like we have a single entry point. I don't think a single entry point makes sense. So we'll just call this like a, let's call this a, I don't like multiple as a name. What's a better name for this? Like a platform, like versus expects, it's a platform. Because that's for tests. This is for, or like application, platform, host entry points. I don't like any of these names. We'll just do multiple, which is a list of single entry points. I still don't like multiple, but oh, is that not copy? We'll see if we need copy or if it's fine just being clone. Okay. It's obviously used to copy at some point, but size is not implemented for that. Okay, we can just make this. Oh wait, is it an at? This is what I want. Wait, and that can have copy. Yeah, I can also do a bump below vac. That is definitely, instead of a slice. This is what I wanted though, a bump below slice. Took me a second to remember the right invocation. We'll change this to multiple. So in Rust, there are these things called lifetimes. And so all of these tick A's are the lifetime. And this is basically the magic of Rust, but it also is why Rust is so hard to learn and figure out and program in a lot of the times. Though once you have it, it's honestly awesome. And basically all it's saying is that this multiple data is going to live longer than entry point. It's going to live some time period that is this lifetime A. And what is that lifetime? In our case, we're using arena allocation. We basically let a bunch of things live for the entire lifetime of the entire compiler. They never get destroyed. They just get put into this big pile that is the arena. And then we can pass them around for free because we know they're going to live forever, essentially. And so in Rust, that's what a lifetime is for. You can basically say, hey, this is attached to something else. If that other thing gets deleted, we have problems. And so it makes sure that that thing does not get deleted until you're done. And so that's the power of Rust, and the borrow checker is making sure things don't accidentally get deleted. You don't have like use after free bugs and all of those sorts of problems, but you still have a low-level, powerful language like C-like. Rust, I find, feels way higher level than C. even higher level than C++ a lot of the times is what it feels like. But fundamentally, it's a very low level language. Anyways, so for this, I think I just need to like iter and collect them into a bumpalo size or a bumpalo vac. So if we take the host exposed, let's see. Actually, wait. What is exposed to host? Let me not even change the type here. What is this? It is already that. Why don't I just make this be inside of here? Let me just do this. Exposed to host. Let's not even convert anything. Let's keep this simple. So I want this type to just work. Like I don't want to have to deal with anything. And so that, as I said, is a symbol and a proc. Because I think that is a cleaner way to deal with this. Oh, where's my multiple? I defined it right here. Because they wrap it in this single entry point struct, but that's just not necessary. And then we don't have to pay any conversion costs or whatever. I mean, it's just moving around a few pointers. It's not that big of a deal. But like, I don't think this is really needed. Where is this actually used? It's probably used in almost no locations. Yep, used where actually loading it. Used where we're creating one of them. Oh, this is a different path to create them. Oh, and helper functions. Yeah, that's not too important. Where is it used here? We use it in the test wrappers for WASM. Yeah, so there's a handful of places this is used. Maybe it's worth mapping that. We'll map it over. That sounds fine. Yeah, we'll leave this as single entry points. That's okay. If we just do a map. Let's call this sim and layout. I probably should have kept that thing around. Single entry point. Oh, I guess there's symbol and layout. We'll keep that around for now. It might be useful. Or at least it's clearer what the different data is. Okay, we map that. This is still an iterator. So we just need to collect it. Collect in, yes. And it should just be arena right here. Do we have the arena? I assume so. And that should make it a bumpalo vec, and then we just do... Oh. What does collect in return? Okay, I'm not getting type errors. This is the one kind of annoying thing. Occasionally my editor does not give me type errors right away. Like, I feel like there should be a type error here. Maybe there isn't. Oh, type errors elsewhere. Fair enough. Alias analysis is where this is also used. Yeah, so this will end up being in a number of different places that I'm switching over to this multiple thing. For now, just for simplicity's sake, I think I'm going to keep around single, and I will come back to removing it later, because that'll just speed up getting this working. You know, let's remove it from the main pathway, and then later I can deal with removing it elsewhere. And that should keep things working, but wherever there is the enum missing, it'll say, hey, you have to deal with the multiple enum. And so it should be, yeah, exactly, hey, you're not covering the multiple variant. And so we need to just cover the multiple variant in a number of different places. And that just delays some of the cleanup, makes things a little bit simpler. So let's just go there right now. That's in ir.rs, line 140. Mono IR, I assume? Is this mono? Yeah, mono. For those who don't know, this is mono now. We have now jumped much farther into the compiler. We're in mono IR, which is mono is short for monomorphization. I can't even talk. Monomorphization, otherwise called specialization. And what happens in that is essentially if you have like type variables and you have multiple different ways a function can be instantiated, like specialized, you know, is this a function that's taking an I32 or an I64? You know, it can take either number type, right? Mono is the IR that deals with all of those constraints and generates a bunch of different versions of every different function. And so if you use a function, you know, if you use list.get for a list of integers, a list of strings, and a list of floats, it will generate 3 different functions of the list.get function for each of those different variants. And so that's what mono's job is. And so we're actually pretty deep in the compiler when we're in the mono IR, at least in general. It's kind of like, I would say, like the start of like the core back-end work of the compiler. Once we've gotten past all of the front-end work of like parsing and type checking and some of those higher level constraints, this is where you get into the back end of the compiler. And this is also getting closer to the territory I'm familiar with. I have worked in mono a good bit, but I tend to work all the way in the back ends. I work a lot on LOVM. I work a lot on our dev backend that's directly generating assembly. I tend to be someone who really likes low-level twiddling and performance. And so I've also worked directly on like our dictionary implementation and trying to make that fast. That's actually a different video that I have uploaded on my channel, for example. But anyways, there's a spot where this variant is not being used. Thanks for doing stuff you want to do. No. Thank you for dealing with a lot of parser stuff and front-end stuff. I mean, to be fair, I don't want to do that mostly because the code isn't organized in a way that I absolutely despise. That's too strong of a word, but it's not my type of code at all. And so it's a huge hassle for me to relearn and figure it out. But yeah, exactly. You're going to clean it up. You're going to modernize it, and then you'll make it so I enjoy it too, right? Okay, where is this spot that it's failing? Wait, I thought it said it was in mono IR. Oh no, that's just where the definition is. It's in alias analysis lib 239. Okay. Alias analysis. Man, we do have a lot of crates in different topics, so I'll keep trying to like go over what the crates are as I jump around the compiler, but do recognize that I'm not an expert in all of these different crates, and I'm definitely not an expert in terms of like the specifics of a lot of these crates, but I have interacted with them, and hopefully you can realize that it's possible to just hack into one little point in these crates without fully knowing what they do. But anyways, aliases in Roc are essentially all of the different type aliases where you say, we have, let's say, my number, which is an I32. That's a type alias. And so alias analysis is what dives into all these aliases, resolves them, kind of gets us what the real types are behind these aliases, especially because they can be more complex, right? This could be something that ends up being a recursive tag that ends up being, next A, or it ends up being an I32. Done. I don't know why it would be like that, but like there are different things where like aliases can get really complicated, and so there's a lot of stuff to do here. Okay, anyways, we're in alias analysis. It said line 239, I guess. I can type 239. Okay, here we go. And so we have the handling of a single entry point, and what I am going to hope, could be totally wrong, but that I can just copy this. I can make multiple entry point, and I can run it in a loop. We will see how wrong I am, but I am very hopeful that I can just essentially make a loop of this with the single entry points. Also, is this the only spot that single entry point is used? That'd be nice, because then I can remove it. But we have, our entry points list. Oh, I don't need a comma there. Sure, we'll do it like that. Entry point name looks hard-coded. Yes, it does. We'll have to fix that. That's totally fine. I didn't realize we hard-coded main for host. No wonder everything's named main for host. I never realized that. But I will break beyond that. But anyways, let's just start with a simple for loop. We'll actually just extract directly in the loop for those in entry points. I mean, how hard can it be? We're literally just adding a couple of functions, right? Like, this can't be that bad, right? We're going to get lucky. This is going to be super easy, barely an inconvenience. We want to, into iter so that we keep ownership of stuff. Yeah, perfect. No, that doesn't work. Why are you not happy? Yeah, you're a reference to a symbol. Whatever. Just let's do this the easy way. Okay. And that means I don't actually need that into iter. Okay. Okay, so this is now going to make too many functions with the same name. We need to get a name for each of these functions, and I think they have a name. Is the symbol not a name? Do symbols not have names? Yeah, we get this like roc main bytes. Build entry point. Yeah, why do we use the entry point name here when we already have the like the roc main function right here? I don't know. Oh, because we have to wrap that. We need to like modify this function somehow, these roc main bytes, such that we have something more unique, I guess. Wait, what is the entry point name again? It's just main for host. No, that seems like a generic name. Wait, okay, I am just gonna take this. I'm just gonna try roc main. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? We try to generate the same function 27 times and it explodes, right? Oh, that's a func def, not a func name? I don't understand. Wait. Oh, wait. I replaced the wrong thing. Yeah, okay. I don't, like, this feels like it should work. That's the same name that we're gonna name this function anyways. It's called main for host, right? Like if I just make sure I'm not crazy here. We'll throw a debug in. That'll just be convenient. And let's just run this. And this is when it all just magically works, right? First try. Let's see if it even compiles. But this is definitely one of the harder parts with a lot of roc stuff, is like you never know how easy or hard a lot of things will be. Finding references to symbols when it expects symbols. Oh, it'd be helpful if I can type multiple, sure. Wait, where did I spell it wrong? Program.rs 230. Oh, that was way back over here. Oh, it's gonna complain right here because here is where I need to add the stars. Right? And that means because I'm copying them... Oh, wait, there's a trick for this. You just go here and you put a reference here instead. And that's the same as putting the stars without needing the stars, right? Expected type, proc layout, found... Oh, no, I can't put the reference there because it's within those. Okay, fair enough. So I have to do this silly thing where I say that we're copying the symbol and the layout. Layout and symbol are both, like, cheap to copy. It's totally fine. This is basically copying an integer, so it's not really a problem. Okay, collect in is not working. Why for art thou not working? It's because I do need to go into... Nope. What is it? Into bump slice or something? Real quick. Let me take this out. So it should be a bumpalo vac. Bumpalo. I think it's just vac. No? Okay, we'll just do this for now. Just to separate this out, because sometimes that gives better errors when these are separated out. Let me just go over here and we say entry points. I think there should be like an into bump slice here, but I'm not getting autocomplete, which is making me question if that's at all right. Type annotation needed. Okay, that's fair enough. Real quick, do we have another use of collect in I can steal from, just to make sure I'm doing this right? Oh, they just collect in regular vacs? Or no, that's just a bumpalo vac and I just give up on typing it. That's fair. Yeah, perfect. Nope, it didn't autocomplete. It's a vac of something. Just trust me. Nope, this is a std vector. I want a bumpalo vector. Where does bumpalo vector live? Real quick. If I go back to that other collect in spot that I saw... Yeah, that's fair. Oh, it's bumpalo collections vac, isn't it? Use bumpalo collections vac. Okay. Now I don't need that. Hey, that doesn't look like it's erroring. Okay, progress. We'll see where we get our failure now. Something not being sent that's being moved between threads. Oh boy. Chunk footer cannot be shared between threads. Where is the start of this error? Oh boy, I angered the gods of cargo. Final binary bytes. Where does this start? There's evacuate with an unexpected lifetime in program.s code object. What did I do? Oh, no. Okay, nope, we can't globally import this back. Where'd that go? There are other things that are using regular vectors for some reason. Okay. So we will be the only spot that uses the bumpalo vector. That angered a lot of lifetimes. This file apparently actually uses proper regular vectors. Okay, this is linking, so that was all. Okay. I'm assuming this will crash. Yeah, cool. Duplicate function name. Well, that is kind of what I was hoping for. It'd be really nice if we had real function names. That doesn't look much like a name to me. I don't think that's even proper hacks either, if I recall. Because, like, why would there be all these zeros at the beginning of the name? Should I be checking for uniqueness in the provides list? Almost certainly I should be checking for uniqueness in the provides list, though it looks like, you know, we already have alias analysis to panic when we get it wrong, or LLVM to panic when we get it wrong. But yeah, why is... Okay, somewhere we had a proper name before we got to this symbol and then messed everything up. I want to go back to the original name. That is my goal. And so maybe I need to pipeline this original name down. Because, like, when we had the original requires... the provides, they had proper names, right? Like, we were printing those out earlier. They had nice, clean names. That was all good and dandy. Also, that's not saved for some reason, though. Let me reload it. Okay, cool. And so, like, there was a point where we had nice, clean names, and those are really the names we want to use here. So the question is, where do we lose those names? Obviously, by the time we're here, we've already lost the names because we just have symbols, and the symbols don't have good names. They have a very useful name, but not for, like, exposing to the host. And so it's somewhere farther up where we are loading things, where we probably recreated this executable here, or even farther up where the exposed to host got transformed in a way that we lost this information. And so that's the important thing, is we need to not just give the symbols and layouts like they're doing here, but we still need to keep the original names. Yeah, perfect here. We have the original name here. Let me just put the name in. Because that's the name we want to expose it on as. We want to expose it as is whatever the original name was. And so if I simply add that here, and we edit this so that it also has a name, I don't know what that actually, what is the type of that going to be? I'm not actually sure. Let me go back. What were the types in the provide? What is a location name? We might have to convert it to a string or something. Yeah, it's a location of an exposed name. I don't want all of that. I want to convert this to a string. Yeah. This. Because we don't want the fancy full ident. We just want the name that we're going to expose it as. And so that's just a stir, except it probably does not live long enough, which is why it's probably yelling at me. No, because different locations have different names. If there are none of them, why would there be none? I don't know, but can I just do this? Is that okay? I probably need to change the type here. That is probably not an acceptable type for lifetime reasons, but we're going to start with this, and I am just going to say... What are the chances that works? That probably doesn't work with that empty string, but the other part should work. Where was I before this? Over here. Did that work? Really? This isn't complaining to me about lifetimes? I'm very skeptical. But currently it's not complaining to me about lifetimes. So now if I come not here, so I'm going to have to update all of these other locations. Where's the location we were just at? Here. We now also have a function name. And we will just throw it here. Oh, and this is where things are going to be sad, because now I'm changing this, which is going to have very big ripple effects. Name at a stir. I'm sure this just broke a ton of code, and I'm going to have to follow through to type check everything. It's going to be a big chain of stuff. But at least I have the types. This is where I was working Python a decent bit at work, and it's painful because I don't have types. And when I make a change like this, everything just cries. I mean, we now have some type checking, but it's just not as good as something like Rust's type checking and it pointing out all the spots where I'm missing this field, right? That is much more useful. And so like here, we now have a name. And I guess I can follow the convention of calling it the entry point name. I don't know why we're appending entry point onto everything, but you know, whatever. That's fine. I don't really care. And then we can come here and say entry point name is the func name version of entry point name. Yay. Oh no, what does this take? It takes bytes. As bytes. Yay. Let me do the same over here. And now we're actually piping the name through, though I think there are other parts where this is used, and so we're going to have more errors to clean up. LOVM uses this. Oh, this is generating it for a test, and for the test we always have one symbol, so I'm just going to go like this. I'm just going to say function name. I'm going to go we wrote a Python service in Rust over last Christmas, and it's 50x faster because it was CPU bound. Yeah, that sounds about right. This is where, you know, I always want to say rewrite it in Mojo now. I think that's what I'm required to say because of my job. No, that's not true. I actually like Mojo a lot, but it's not ready. I like Mojo a lot, and how we are using it, it's fundamental to what we do at work. But Mojo for a end user right now has a lot of sharp edges that like, you're like, oh, cool, I didn't get a good error, or, oh, I can't get any stack traces, or whatever. There's lots of things that are just sharp edges that make Mojo not necessarily worth using right now. But the core fundamentals of how it works in terms of code gen and in terms of being able to take advantage of GPUs and CPUs and really like push all of the threading and SIMD and etc. is beautiful. That all works great right now, and we're definitely taking advantage of that at work. Is this already a stir? Should I just call this name? Okay, that seems to work. What else is broken? Okay, this is... I don't know how this is even compiling at all. That must be in a test somewhere if it is using regular signature. I'm going to ignore those for now and just keep focusing on errors that are in the main Roc compiler, and then I will clean up later when I run all the tests. We'll see what type errors we get. Okay. But that other one was at least coming up. Also, I have way too many files open. The problem of working on Roc, you just slowly collect all of the files. That one's actually important. This one shouldn't be. This one shouldn't be. That one shouldn't be anymore. That one shouldn't be. The host will become important. Okay, this is enough files removed for now. Are we good? No, I didn't think so. Okay. Expected a tuple of a stir. Okay, where's this? Oh, CLI Gen also is doing the same thing. Cool. We have too many spots that all do the same thing, apparently. 233. I really should also be updating these to the multiple entry point thing, but I'm not going to worry about it for now. But hopefully once this works, we'll actually be able to generate multiple functions and expose them, which would be honestly amazing. That's a feature that I have requested for years but haven't worked on. But I feel like it's something that at least 2 years now I've been requesting. Ooh, this thinks it compiled and worked. Okay, the moment of truth. How do I want to do this? If I go into the... Let's close this. If I go into the platform here, and I make a second one, where we say, hey, there's not just one function exposed. And, you know, this is such a boring name, main for host 1 and 2, but let's give this a better name. We'll call this it works, because that's a better name. And so we're going to come over here. We're going to make our beautiful function it works, which is clearly going to work because that's how it's named, and that's how life works. If you name something it works, it has to work. That's required. And so anyways, we're going to come down to where this function is used, and we're also going to call it works. And if life is nice to us, we will be able to also print out it works. That said, it would also be boring if this gives the same results. So we're gonna just kind of come in here, and I'm just gonna do, I don't know, minus, let's see, a plus b plus 2. Now it's not the Fibonacci function, it's something totally different. Oh wait, that's gonna affect both functions. Never mind, that doesn't work. We're gonna take fib here. Here we go. This is where we'll change it. Fibonacci plus 2. There you go. They're totally different functions, unrelated to each other, and everything is gonna work first try if I'm really lucky. Aw, expectation was broken. What did I do? Undeclared identifier it works in host.zig. Oh wait, this is a Zig error. Okay. So I just did something silly here. Oh, salt 2. Okay, let me try that again. It actually works. We now can expose multiple functions from Roc to the host. This like super basic and important feature is actually working. That was easier than I expected, in that we had all the wiring, but I really thought there was something fundamental blocking this from working. And so the fact that it is compiling and working right now is stunning and awesome. So that's pretty sweet. Obviously, there's a lot of tests to clean up and to fix up with this, but that is good. Why did it give different results? Because I wanted it to, so I made it so that it adds 2. You know, I thought it'd be too boring if it gave the same result twice, so I threw in adding 2 right there. Just to make sure it was 2 different functions. But yeah, that is awesome. Also, I realized I missed one slightly older chat of someone saying that they work with Ruby at work and mistype so bad. Yeah, Python, Ruby, etc. Like the fact that they're all trying to add on types now, but they don't get to take advantage of them is just stupid to me. Like it's really annoying. It's like we're trying to give you type checking, and it doesn't work as well as other languages that have type checking built in. Definitely doesn't work as well as Roc, where you don't even have to specify the types. Like I mean, look at this file. There are no types in this file, and it type checks correctly. And like all of these solutions, MyPy, Sorbet, etc., from these different things, they kind of work, but they don't really work, and it's a huge pain to make them work. And so the fact that this is like type checked and you don't even have to write the types is stunning to me and like is beautiful. Obviously, it's slower than just immediately starting running, but like not that much. And I hope a lot of languages start going this way. Like people just need good type inference, and they don't need dynamic types most of the time. I have to admit, there have been times where I've seen people do really weird things with dynamic types. Some of them are cool, but you know, most of the time people are doing pretty kosher things that don't need dynamic types at all. I've also learned recently, because I now work in Python, that I don't really know Python. I regularly talk to another coworker who's like a Python like super expert, and they keep showing me things of like all of these underlying weird details of how to like manipulate Python in really cool ways to shorten your code by like 10x. And every time I see it, like most of it's actually very readable and cool and awesome, but I would never figure out how to write it. And I definitely don't understand a lot of its dunder methods and other things like that. And so I thought I knew Python because I thought it was such a simple language, but now that I'm actually working in Python very regularly, I find that it actually is a language that if you have a true expert, there's like such a gap in terms of how concise and clean and pretty they can write a lot of things. I definitely write way too many for loops. I'm a monster. You're not supposed to use for loops anymore in Python. They're obsolete. So yeah. I think metaprogramming in almost all languages is cute in small examples and is absolutely horrifying in large code bases. By that I mean it is necessary a lot of times in large code bases, and it can be used really well if you use it like in just like little pieces. But man, is that a sucky experience a lot of the time of like the metaprogramming nonsense that other people write and you have to unwrap to understand something. Like that's where I think the biggest problem comes from, is like trying to understand someone else's metaprogramming, especially if it's not little short simple helpers that are really clean and easy to understand. I'm sure there are certain macros in Roc, or sorry, not in Roc, in Rust that we use for the Roc compiler that are pretty bad. Append-only code. Yeah, just keep gluing more things on the bottom and eventually everything's going to work just fine, right? At the same time, I work in MLIR a lot, and it is a metric crap ton of code gen. And that's part of the magic of it, is that like you just write like some template files and it generates a metric ton of code. I think it generates way too much code, and it has certain issues and problems, but it is super convenient for a certain class of problems. But you technically probably could write a lot of it as ridiculous, super scary C++ macros. But I think CodeGen is often a much better tool, especially if it's CodeGen done by a build system and hidden away from the user. Like they never need to touch it. Like they see the API of it, but they never need to actually interact with that generated code. They don't need to check it in. They don't need to save it. It generates fast enough. It goes into a build directory and it's always clean. I think CodeGen can be a pretty cool tool then. I have seen too many things where someone like starts with CodeGen and then has to hack on it, and then it becomes this mess. And when you need to update it, it's a pain. Zig's comp time. Yeah, Zig's comp time is like awesome metaprogramming. It's the only metaprogramming I approve of currently. There's probably more, but Zig's comp time is definitely the metaprogramming I approve of the most. It's a lot less dense and hard to read compared to other metaprogramming because it's just simple language, right? It's just Zig. I think there are still ways that I've seen comp time used that I'm like, I get it. It's fundamental here, but I don't understand the code it's generating, especially when it's working with really complex APIs. I think like I was recently looking at Godot Zig, which is bindings for the Godot engine for Zig. And I think some of their underlying stuff, I do not quite understand how comp time is wiring everything together, but it's still really awesome. And how Godot is written, it is meant for CodeGen and comp time. Like it is designed specifically with that in mind. So like there are no complaints for me here because that is like how it's meant to be used. Okay. But this feature is fundamentally working. Let me make another commit right now before I forget about things too much. I'll have to actually add tests and fix up a number of other things, I'm sure. But the core is there, and it surprisingly wasn't terrible to get working. Just piping around some extra names, mostly. Yeah, gRPC auto-generates whatever language. Yeah, I mean, that's the same as protobuf, right? Does gRPC use protobuf files? Right, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, I should know this. It's not like I worked at Google last job and worked with protobuf very regularly. Yeah, I literally have used all these tooling, and my brain is just like, it's out. You know, I don't work at Google anymore. It's out of my head. Doesn't exist anymore, apparently. Oh man, yeah, gRPC is all CodeGen, and the reason it has to be CodeGen is because you need a perfectly laid out struct that matches your message, so that you don't have to pay the costs of parsing. You just like mmap over, just typecast over the bytes. And so you need to not have any sort of reflection or other costs because you want it to be just an instant typecast. And so you need the type perfectly represented in whatever language. And then getters and setters to actually interact with it, because a lot of languages can't interact with raw bytes in that way. What does this unlock? Okay. So really what this unlocks for people is the fact that we're no longer blocked in on like, oh, you can only expose one thing to the host. You can only expose a single main function and that's it. And so like that really restricted the platform API. It meant that if you wanted to expose multiple functions, you always had to like return a record of closures, and closures are a much more painful thing to deal with. Like they're just more annoying because closures close over data. They capture extra data. And so that's just like problematic. And so the big thing for this is that you can have lots of clean functions that you ensure don't capture anything, or that you give whatever API you're interested in and can call them in a nice, clean manner that's like well known exactly how you're going to call them. You don't have to deal with like complex dynamic closures of any sort that like you don't know about beforehand. It's only the closures, like the functions that you know about beforehand, and you can define a bigger API surface that is all connected and all through this, provided function set. And so a simple example of this is when you have like an init, update, etc., all with a model. All of that, you want to just have, as different exported functions. You don't really want to export a record of functions and deal with all the combined lifetimes. A big problem with closure captures that we have currently is if you export a record of functions, what you're really getting is a pile of closure captures. And you then have to like separate them apart and say, oh, this part's the first closure, this part's the second closure, etc. Versus if you just have 3 exposed functions, you don't have to deal with any of that. They're all their own separate lifetimes, own separate pieces of data, and you can call them all directly. And so it just simplifies the process if you have, a game loop where you have init, update, and display, or something of that nature. The reason I want it right now is one of the next projects I kind of want to start looking into is the Godot APIs. I want to try and at least get a rough idea of what the heck that could look like in Roc. And fundamentally, those APIs really expect you to expose a lot of different functions, and it's just going to be a huge hassle if I have to make everything fall into a single function. It will just be like this big mess of like, how do I map everything into one thing and then separate them apart and make it all work right, versus just separating them out and making them nice and clean to begin with, because they're all their own distinct functions. They don't need to be intertwined with each other. And so lifetimes and closure captures are just a lot easier to manage when you have all of these separate functions and you're not trying to smash everything together. And so this is why I really wanted this fixed right now, is because of all the Godot stuff that I want to look into, and I think that'll be nicer. Could this make basic web servers API cleaner? I think so. Here, real quick, just let me go over here. If I go to basic web server just to see, I think I have a Roc web server. Yeah. This probably isn't up to date. Yeah, that's fine. So if I go to our main API for basic web server, where is that going to be? That's going to be main.roc. There we go. So yeah, so right now, basic web server is playing this game that's really annoying, where it has this for host function, and it then has a init and respond. And so it's sending 2 functions over to the host in terms of a combined task. And this leads to lots of problems, because both of these can have closure captures, and Roc, when you put them together like this, is combining them into one giant closure capture. And you can actually see the pains of this if I go into the host.rs file. No, roc.rs. Let's see if I can find this real quick. There should be a very important, yes, here we go. There are extra debug asserts throughout here that are dealing with closure capture sizes. And I think there's a certain closure capture that we are forced to ensure is sized 0, because otherwise we have to do a bunch of extra moving of data around that's like complicated and we don't want to deal with. Yeah, exactly, right here. This platform does not allow for the respond function to have captures. But it does, and so it fails. And so right now, if you capture anything in your respond function, we will just fail because it's too painful to de-entangle the combined init and respond function closure captures. And so what we basically said is like, it's too hard to separate these two things. So this gets closures or captures, this one does not. If you capture anything in respond, too bad, that's your problem. Versus now, we can separate this out, so we have a separate init and respond function passed, and both of them can just work regularly with closure captures, and they'll be managed happily, and so we won't have any of these problems of needing to deal with detangling lifetimes and closures that are overlapping with each other stored in the same spot. And so, yeah, it should mean that this can then change to just having this like init and respond function. And then you go for host and we have init and respond, just like that. And now, because they're de-entangled, they both can have closure captures. They both can be regular tasks. There's no problems with them. Nice, clean, simple. We know how to handle this. We know how to call this. It's very static and simple. And so it just makes life a lot easier. It also deals with a lifetime problem of before, when you had to load init and respond at the same time, which means you're loading like respond even though you may not be calling it right now. And if you wanted to get the respond function again, you couldn't get it again without getting the init function and all of its captures. Which, what are you going to do with those? Like later down in your function, you don't want all of init's captures. You just want the respond function again. And so by separating these out, you can get these functions whenever you want them. And so that also makes life easier. You don't have to like store things in a global to like protect them for a while and then use them later. Will it make it easier for Rust glue to generate init and respond? It should be just as easy as generating main for host, which I don't know if we do currently. I don't know what the state of that is, but like, I don't think it's that hard compared to like generating the effects. So it seems like it should be reasonable. But yeah, I'm not fully sure. Yes, compile time evaluation of constants definitely could get rid of some of the captures. In the case of like init though, where it's like a task, I mean, I think all of these, technically, we could get rid of all the captures. Like, I don't think there's ever a reason we need captures here. I'm trying to think if there is. I guess you can't get rid of every single capture, right? This is returning a task, and it takes an input, so the capture might depend on whether or not how these inputs are used. And so, like, you can't fully get rid of the captures and respond. I think in it, because it's directly returning a task, you could get rid of all captures. But I think anything like this, the captures might depend on the data passed in, and so you couldn't get rid of those captures. But, you know, it still makes the problem a lot simpler from the like user perspective. And it decouples these, which I think is the most important part. You now have a separate init and respond. I can get the respond function 700,000 times and never load any of the init captures and not have to deal with figuring out how to deallocate them and everything else. And so that's the main reason I wanted to do this. I think it helps with that, and I think it will help significantly with all of the Godot stuff that I want to look into next and just get an understanding for. Anyways, at this point, I think I'm just going to make one more commit, and then later I will go about cleaning this up and making it ready for actual, you know, submitting to Roc, because there's definitely pieces in this that need more cleanup. Like, I'm sure this is wrong, right? This function has no name. I'm sure that we need some sort of name for some of these pieces and whatnot, and I'm sure the tests will expose that. But anyways, if anybody has any final questions or things they want me to comment on, please ask away now. Otherwise, in a couple of minutes here, I'll probably be ending the stream. Okay. My chat seems frozen on the stream, but I see your messages. Yeah, hopefully these streams end up being useful for people. It's always hard to figure out what the right balance is. You know, this one I spent probably half the time just staring at a parser error because I didn't rename a namespace, but, you know, happens. Oh, man. Okay. Okay. Yeah, how can we make this more discoverable information? That's a really good question. I've been trying to figure out a lot of that. I think some of it is definitely just needing more docs and needing to update docs. But even if we had docs for all these folders and whatnot and like dug into them more, oops, bumped my table, everything's shaking. But even if we had docs for all of that, I don't think it's quite the right thing because it'd be too much to troll through to really understand pieces. I do think some of the stuff Anton's been looking into with like trying to have AIs summarize things and help explain things to people help. But I don't know what the right level is. Like, because I think part of the problem is like the side of, hey, we have people that are interested, but how do we make sure that they can contribute without needing to know too much? Like, I think that's a big part of the problem, like, that we need to solve is like, we want them to be able to contribute without needing to know too much and then help them expand. Because this is really something where, as I said, tons of this code I don't know, and I've just gotten used to the fact that I don't know it. And, you know, sure, I played around with the parser and eventually figured it out, but like, that was copy and paste and weird edits. It wasn't really me knowing the parser. And that's a skill unto itself of like, how do you edit and deal with those pieces? And so like, I don't know how we make it like the big thing to me is like, how can we make it so that a, you know, just out of college student or someone even in college who's motivated comes to Roc, they know a little bit of Rust, I think is really what I want to say is the basis. They've at least seen the basics of like, you know, a C-like language so that they can like look at Rust and understand it. But like, I mean, we have a lot of lifetimes and other stuff that's complicated. So I do think knowing a little bit of Rust is important. But like, I think that's one category of person we want to work for. And then, yeah, the person you just mentioned, they don't know any Rust and it's a giant code base. What the heck do I do? How do I get started? You know, I want to definitely make it more accessible to people. And I also don't think these streams are quite the right way for that either, because it's not like if I say, go watch 2 hours of stream that kind of shows someone else digging through this, well, that doesn't really help someone. I think pairing is definitely one of the biggest things we can do. But a lot of people like to do things async or don't have time or coordination to pair. Yeah, I do agree. Rust lets us say the compiler will check most stuff. But if you get a type error like I had at the beginning, you know, it took me however long to figure out that silly little type error. But I think parsing is a rare exception, to be fair. And yeah, we used to do a lot more pairing, just for reference. Back when I was first getting started in Roc, there was a ton more pairing. And I think then Roc kind of grew big, and a lot of the big contributors kind of got, you know, a little exhausted and busy and pulled different ways. And so it kind of like fell away over time. But definitely at the beginning, there was a ton of pairing between, you know, Richard and Fulkert and a lot of new people all the time. And I think that was one of the best ways to really pass things off. And help get people to first start understanding things. And so I think it's something we really should try to push for more, but I know a lot of people aren't comfortable with that as a beginning part, so it also isn't a full solution. You know, this is definitely one of those problems where there's like so many little pieces that hopefully add up to a full solution somewhere, but it's not really clear where that'll add up or like how to slice it to make that all work out. But yeah, definitely have a lot of thoughts, but I don't really have anything concrete, any real answers, you know. Yeah, exactly, it's a hard problem, but little bits at a time. I'm sure Luke has lots of good ideas here. I mean, that's why he's organizing Hacktoberfest to begin with. But yeah, hopefully people see me struggle and see the Rust type errors here, and hopefully that enables some of the new users to come take a look and say, oh, I can struggle and mess around. I mean, it took him an hour, I'm new at this, maybe it'll take me 3. And that's okay, as long as I'm just messing around and learning, and I can go to the chat and ask for help, right? Like, hopefully we can get a lot more of that mindset to people. But that's always hard with new people, to get them into that right mindset. In fact, I struggle with that even at work, you know, with people that are paid and as part of their day job have to, you know, do a lot of programming in a complex code base that includes more than one compiler, actually. And, you know, I have spent a lot of time pushing new people or people that have been around a lot but are lower level in general, of pushing them to be more open about the issues they're running into, be more talkative, kind of be more exploratory and say, hey, it's okay to fail. And I think that's a very big part of it. Yeah, more debugging tools. Yep, definitely another piece. I don't have many thoughts on debugging tools. I just live in LLDB and GDB and cry because they're not actually that good. But whenever you're dealing with the lowest level, they're very important. All right. Anyways, I think I'm going to sign off. At some point, probably later tonight or tomorrow, I'll actually deal with cleaning this up and making it into a proper PR. I'll do that off stream. Just dealing with all of the different, you know, pieces in terms of testing and whatnot. I think most of this should just fall together pretty easily. I'll make a new platform that actually uses this. And hopefully this is going to be a working feature that everybody can use very shortly and will help unblock me messing around with more Godot stuff. Though Godot's API is, I mean, it's not complicated per se. It's really simple. It's just really low level in a way that's annoying, and I'm not sure how it's going to map to Roc. It definitely is meant for a crap ton of macros and code gen. We have the option to do code gen. We do not have macros. And so that'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think every language that interacts with it uses both code gen and macros to interact with it, because certain parts really are meant to be called by the application with macros. And so I'll figure that out, but it'll be exploratory. I'm just trying to start pushing that wheel just a little bit to help people, because I know there's a lot of people interested in Godot plugins or Godot extensions that use Roc. So we'll see. Anyways, thanks everybody for coming, for being here. I will talk to you all in a future stream. I don't know when. And I also hate being wrong in public, and I hate struggling on stream programming, actually. But, you know, as long as I have people here to chat with and I don't feel like I'm just like talking to avoid failing at programming, it makes it a little bit better. But I'll chat with all of you later and offline.